Hi, Libra rising sign. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 21st of April until the 27th of April. Since you are ruled by Venus, the conjunction on the 23rd is very much your final exam in the sector of shared resources and deep transformation. These aspects will impact your first, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, and ninth houses. So, welcome, Libra. For the last 7 years, Uranus has been sitting in your eighth house, likely bringing erratic shifts to your finances, taxes, or even your psychological state. But on the 26th, that lightning finally moves into your ninth house. So, you are moving away from financial and emotional instability towards a philosophical and intellectual rebirth and revolution. This week is about taking the power you have reclaimed in your private life and finally using it to expand your world as well as your wisdom. However, we've got Armor entering your seventh house, and it's going to be there for 9 months due to its retrograde. Eros will enter Leo, which is your 11th house, and Bacchus will enter Gemini, which is your ninth house. I think there's a massive focus on the other. Your seventh house, the house of partners, is highly concentrated, and even Armor moving in there is just going to be even giving a lot more attention, having to decide whether, this is a romantic spark or we would like to collaborate and so forth. While your social circle and the big picture dreams are buzzing with a lot of excitement as well. With Armor going into your seventh house and then retrograding there, it really feels like that you have to review the boundaries within one-on-one partnerships or relationships. It's an 8-month review of how you balance your needs with others. Use Eros in Leo to network. So lead with your creative vision. People are drawn to your spark within groups and communities right now. So you can really use it for your own benefit, especially if you have got social media channels. And you can really use Bacchus in the ninth house to enjoy those high-minded debates, watch documentaries, start a new course, talk to someone from a foreign culture, from someone completely different background. Of course, there are a bit of a don'ts as well with these aspects. For example, don't rush into a contract. Armor in your seventh house with all the planetary cluster that we've got there. That could be a new legal or romantic commitment, and it might be very impulsive. And it might need just a bit more thoughts. Or don't become a social diva with Eros in the 11th house. That can make you demand too much attention from your friends. So ensure you are supporting the group, not just seeking the applause. And then with Bacchus in the ninth house, you shouldn't get lost in theory. Bacchus in the ninth can make you kind of intoxicated by ideas. So you need to learn to stay grounded enough to actually apply what you are learning. Venus is making its very last conjunction to Uranus in your eighth house. That's 29 degree. So this is the grand finale of Uranus in your house of shadows and shared money. So you might have a sudden breakthrough regarding a death, an inheritance, or even deep psychological blocks. That lightning strike of clarity hits a very private part of your chart. So if you have been emotionally beholden to someone else's resources or traumas, this might make you walk away from it. The 29th degree is always a exit strategy. Or if an investment or shared account isn't working, it says close it. Use that Venusian charm to negotiate a sudden, kind of favorable exit for you. And you can really potentially spend a little money on something that makes you feel safe in your own skin. Maybe it's a therapeutic experience or certain type of luxurious items. However, don't cling to the taboo. 29 Taurus is out of your hands. It's a secret comes out or a financial situation shifts. So let it happen. It might not be a day or two when you should be actually signing for a loan. This is a bit of a volatile energy, so wait for the dust to settle before merging your money with anyone else. And it might be intense. We don't need to panic on that. Emotions can be very high. So give yourself permission to feel that shake up without needing to fix it instantly. This could be actually the case once a moon moves into the sign of Leo, because it's going to be squaring the Venus and Uranus conjunction as well. And that's going to be happening around 24th, 25th of April. Now, the sun is in your eighth house as well and squaring Pluto, actually. So there's a bit of a clash between your deep shared responsibilities and your individual creative joy. You might feel like your debts or heavy secrets are preventing you from being the playful, creative person you actually want to be or you are. But you can really use this tension to create something, maybe something dark or deep. It's about bringing the eighth house shadow into your fifth house art. This could really give you a sexual boost as well. I mean, Pluto in your fifth house is transforming your passion, so you can use this square to set a powerful boundary in your romantic life as well. But at the same time, if a hobby or a romance is draining your finances, your resources, look at the myth, be honest about what your fun is actually costing you. And what it's not necessarily good for is certain type of power games. So, we can use sex or shared secrets to control a romantic partner, or don't allow anyone to suppress your shining abilities. Life can feel heavy with eighth house, but it doesn't mean that you are not allowed to be the star or you are not allowed to have certain type of fun. And it also reminds you not to gamble with money either. Of course, Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini is the biggest shift of the week or of the month, and Pallas Athene enters Aries as well, while Psyche enters Cancer, which is your 10th house. So that Uranus is about, I mean, it's going to be staying there for 7 years. So this might be about you launching a global project or start learning a complex futuristic subject, or you're going to be doing certain type of digital publishing, or simply you decide out of the blue to relocate. Now, I did make a video about Uranus in Gemini through the houses, so you might want to revisit them, because here I'm just going to give you a bit of a summary. But Pallas Athene moving into your seventh house is negotiating a deal, resolving a conflict. So it's about trying to create a win-win scenario. Whether it's business partnership or romantic partnership, it highly depends on the natal position of your Pallas Athene. And Psyche in your 10th house is about nurturing your reputation, that your profession kind of needs a bit of a soul. And maybe it's also about you showing your vulnerable side at work, because it's going to attract the right audience. What it tells you though is that you shouldn't become too clinical. So Paras can be a bit cold, so don't treat your spouse or best friend like a business transaction. It also says not to ignore your public image. If you feel emotionally exposed at work, use that. Use your 10th house is sensitive now, especially with the moon being there in the first couple of days, as well as Jupiter. So your 10th house is sensitive now. Don't put on a fake mask. And maybe Uranus in the ninth house can cause sudden disruptions to travel. So stay a little bit flexible, have a bit of a backup plan. Now, the sun makes beautiful sextile and trine to your nodes, which is the sixth and the 12th house. And it's about alignment. You see how your deep internal shifts or financial abilities are supporting your daily health as well as your spiritual peace. Maybe this is a bit of a ritual cleanse. You can use the sun in Taurus to do a physical detox that supports your psychological health. Or maybe you bring a spiritual practice into your daily work routine, or use that grounding energy to make a very boring, simple plan for your finances. What you shouldn't do is to get lost in work perfection. Virgo South Node might make you obsessive about doing something right. Pisces North Node says, trust your intuition, find the flow in that exercise or routine. Don't overanalyze your health either. Potentially, it's always easiest to take the simplest path, eat well, sleep, and ground yourself. That's what Taurus actually asks of us all the time. And don't forget about self-care. You have had a week of deep transformation, so you need to treat the body like a temple it is. So the weight is moving from your shadows to a bit of a horizon. You've done the hard work in the deep end. Now it's time to speak your truth, travel toward your future, use your strategy in your relationships, lead with soul in your career, and don't be afraid to let your world get a whole lot bigger. Um, Now, also that comes to my mind for you, Libra, is that with having a very heavy seventh house, especially in the sign of Aries, it's really easy to get into arguments. And what's worth looking at is whether it's my battle or it is part of my subconscious somehow, which I'm potentially projecting onto others, or others are projecting their insecurities onto us. So there's a bit of an intensity happening in the love department. It is also about making a relationship more serious as well, though. So that's, of course, or it's a good week to make certain type of long-term plans or making a major decision. It's about efficiency with the North Node in the sixth house. It's about trying to feel how these small bits and bobs are kind of like fitting the current picture of my life. And that's why we can do a lot of planning, and it's especially with financial planning with the sun in the eighth house. But it also says we have to balance out our big dreams as well as whether these plans are sufficient enough. Remember that the sun rules your 11th house, which is the house of long-term goals. Of course, the eighth house is still a little bit mystical. So potentially this might be telling you that there is still a bit of a kind of like a liberation to go through. But also it's the house of bond. So with Pluto in your fifth and eighth house activations, it might be about how we can bond on a deeper level, especially with family members, loved ones, children. So good luck, Libra, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.